Okay, I will now call this council meeting to order. And before I move to Michael for the land acknowledgement statement, just to be clear with everyone, we're actually holding two meetings tonight. So we're starting with a council meeting, then we will move into committee of the whole when we finish council, and that's where all your delegations will take place. So just if you think we're glossing over, we're not. We're actually doing two meetings together tonight. So I will turn to Michael Benner for the land acknowledgement statement.
Thank you, Mayor Pelton. And if I may, following the acknowledgement, I just have a few words of reflection regarding our truth and reconciliation. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge with respect the history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the three fires known as the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. And further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We also recognize the Métis and Inuit, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse peoples. On Monday, in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we pause to reflect on the history and experiences of Indigenous peoples in our community and beyond. As a land use planner, this day holds particular meaning. It reminds us that the lands we develop and shape today carries the histories of Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of those same lands for millennia. Indigenous communities, each with their own unique cultures, languages, and governance systems, created thriving, sustainable societies deeply rooted in the land. Their traditions and beliefs were interwoven with the natural world, reflecting an incredible knowledge and respect for the environment that remains invaluable to this day. We must continue to learn from their sustainable land practices and their deep connection to the environment, which offer critical insights for our work. As we reflect on truth and reconciliation, it is not only a time to honor the past, but also to shape the future. The history of colonization and its ongoing impacts are painful reminders of the injustices inflicted on Indigenous communities. In our role as stewards of this land, may we continue to collaborate with our Indigenous partners, respect their knowledge, and integrate their wisdom into our own policies and processes. In doing so, we honor their legacy and work towards a future built on mutual respect and understanding.
Thank you, Michael. Very well said. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda before we go ahead? Seeing none, the recommendation is that the agenda be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Scholdice. Is there any discussion? I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, you may declare at any time if one should arise throughout the meeting. Minutes of our previous meetings, the recommendation is that the minutes of the council meeting held on September 11th, 2024 be adopted. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Winters, Councillor Thompson, is there any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Does any member wish to make an announcement? Seeing none. We have no public hearings tonight, and on this portion of the agenda, council meeting, we have no delegations, but I will read the instructions on that anyway. For items on the agenda, any person who wishes to appear before council regarding an item on the agenda shall make written application to the clerk by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting. To register, go to www.georgianbluffs.ca/delegations or call the clerk's office at 519-376-2729, extension 603. And for items not on the agenda, the same rules, but you must register by the Thursday preceding the meeting that you wish to speak at. For our consent agenda, are there any items on the consent agenda anyone wishes to pull this evening? Councillor Scholdice?
I'd like to pull 9.3.2.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. The recommendation is that Council of the Township of Georgian Bluffs adopt the consent agenda for information as circulated, less item 9.3.12, sorry, and that all items contained therein are hereby approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Pringle, Councillor Day. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. And then I will turn it to Councillor Schuldeis for 9.3.2.
Thank you. So 9.3.2 of tonight's council agenda pertains to the City of Stratford's resolution, which echoes the support for the City of Toronto's original request to support family physicians. I strongly believe that this is a resolution that we need to stand behind. The City of Toronto passed a resolution urging the provincial government to improve compensation for family physicians and to reduce the administrative burden placed on them. The shortage of family physicians has reached a crisis point. Patients without access to a primary care provider face poor health outcomes and create greater costs for the healthcare system. Meanwhile, hospitals, emergency rooms, and clinics are all overwhelmed by resident unmet healthcare needs. This is something that I see daily while working as an RN in the Wyerton Emergency Room. Many patients from Georgian Bluffs and neighboring municipalities as well, who do not have a family doctor, come to the Emerge, and they often wait for hours for something that could have quite literally been resolved in a primary healthcare setting. I have also seen patients locally in the Emerge who have been on the wait list now for as long as up to 12 years. That's a true story. This is not right. I believe that the province needs to address this issue quickly and efficiently by providing fair wages to family physicians and reducing the administrative burden that they face. I want to advocate for the family doctors that we have locally, currently, and for future family doctors as well, to help foster a community that is well cared for and is healthy. I believe that providing fair wages will go on to incentivize future medical students to pursue a career in family medicine. With all of that said, I would like to tonight put a motion forwards echoing our support for this resolution.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Coburn? No, you wish to speak to it? Okay, could I have a seconder first, please? Councillor Winters? Then Councillor Coburn.
Thank you, Mayor Carlton. I will declare a conflict of interest with this one as it does pertain to a family member and direct pecuniary interest.
Okay, thank you. I will leave that for you and get the appropriate paperwork figured out on that one. Is there any other discussion or comments on this? Deputy Mayor Pringle.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Carlton. Yeah, no, I'm in full support of this too there. I think with Councillor Schuldeis actually being eyes that sees this every day, has a pretty good read on what's going on in the world out there, and I'm 100% behind it. So glad he brought it forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, next item. We have no correspondence, no committee reports. We have staff report on development and infrastructure, award of the contract for engineering services for the MCA Side Road 3 bridge. I'll read the recommendation first and then turn to staff. The recommendation is that staff report DEV 2024-056, award of contract for 2024-08, municipal class environmental assessment, MCEA Side Road 3, structure D-007, and that a contract with the firm of Pearson Engineering Limited for RFP 2024-08 in the amount of $148,140, excluding HST, be awarded, and that staff be directed to utilize the working capital reserve to support the contract as needed, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute a contract for services. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Schuldeis and Deputy Mayor Pringle. And Kevin, is this over to you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to members of council. Yes, as the report recommends, is to award a contract to the firm Pearson's Engineering in the amount of $148,140. And just a little bit of background on the bridge. Side Road 3 house is structure D007, also known as Side Road 3 Bridge. It was closed in early 2019 due to its poor condition, failing abutments and failing bridge deck. Since it's been closed in 2019, the road maintenance has been kind of neglected as well. It's a narrow path to the bridge itself. And in the special council meeting on December 4th, 2023, council members highlighted the importance of the Side Road 3 bridge, and it was noted as a special priority for staff to look into the consideration of reopening the bridge. Staff prepared a request for proposal on the basis of the municipal class environmental assessment, and with the options of the consultant to explore alternative recommendations to the bridge. Some of the alternatives that will be explored is the do nothing alternative. Currently just leave the bridge in place and do nothing with that. Another option is to rehabilitate the bridge. In staff's opinion, that probably is not going to be an option as the abutments have failed. Therefore, you cannot just replace the bridge deck itself. You would have to actually replace the whole abutments in the bridge. The third option is to replace the bridge, replace it with perhaps a single lane, a double lane. Those options will be explored during this process, during this study. The other option is to fully remove the bridge and create turnarounds. And if that option is selected, most likely will be explored during the study as well. And any other alternative options will be explored. Is that bridge going to become a trail? However, if it is a trail, there's going to be significant upgrades as well to make it safe for pedestrians to cross. So Pearsons will be looking at some of those options. They'll be they'll be working with the public, engaging the public as well, engaging council as to what their consensus will be to move into the preferred alternative. And that report will hopefully be presented to council in the first quarter of 2025 with a recommendation of a preferred alternative. Excuse me. As part of the study as well, Pearsons will be looking into the some of the background studies that are required regardless of any alternative. And then there's also provisional background studies, such as a historical study, a social study, if it is chosen to be replace the bridge or even removed. So I do note that there is provisions in the amount of $48,300. Those provisions will not be used unless staff need to utilize those and go into those extra studies once the preferred alternative is known. Also noted is a contingency of $15,000. Again, that contingency will not be utilized unless needed. So the key background studies as part of this study, again, is $84,840. However, it is recommended to award the full amount as we don't know what the preferred alternative will be once we get to that stage in the early 2025.
Thank you. Any questions from council or comments? Councilor Winters?
I'd just like to thank Kevin. I mean, I think it's impressive that we didn't just evaluate on cost alone. I do appreciate our new evaluation where we look at expertise, what they bring to the table, as well as cost. I think this is an important thing to do. I'm very much a supporter of let's not close it and forget about it. Let's look at options to figure out how we keep our infrastructure and utilities moving. So thank you.
Seeing no other comments, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Kevin. Bylaws. The first bylaw is for the Enbridge franchise agreement. The recommendation is that bylaw 2024-026 being a bylaw to authorize a franchise agreement between the corporation of the Township of Georgian Bluffs and Enbridge Gas Incorporated be read a third time and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Coburn? Councillor Shouldice? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. We have no unfinished business, no new business. Does any member wish to provide a notice of motion this evening? Seeing none, we have no closed session. The confirming bylaw, the recommendation that bylaw number 2024-046 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on October 2nd, 2024 be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation and engrossed in the bylaw book. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Winters, Deputy Mayor Pringle. Is there any discussion? Call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. And I'd say the date of the next regular meeting, but that's right now at 5:14, and it's over to Deputy Mayor Pringle. Do you need a break to switch over?
Good.